The general aim of this short video is to go and show that biosecurity is something that we should be doing on every visit we make to a site, and whether or not we think there's anything there. And as it's actually a very simple process and doesn't involve a great deal of time or effort on our part. To start off with, when we visit a site, we should always go and turn up with clean footwear, and having clean boots before you arrive, you know you're not bringing anything on site with you. And then any material that when you leave the site, you know that you can deal with appropriately and quickly. Apart from arriving with clean boots, to make doubly sure we're not bringing anything onto site, we also spray our boots with a surface steriliser. Once you return from a site, your boots are going to be carrying a certain amount of material and mud on them, and we want to make sure that our boots are going to be clean and not carrying anything to another site. Now we've come back to the car, the first thing I want to do with my muddy boots is to take them off. Well, the equipment you need for cleaning your boots is very basic. Essentially, what you need is a container to put water in that's big enough to put the entire boot in, rather than it's too shallow to get the whole sole in at once. A brush to clean off your boots with, effectively a stiff brush. I find a churn brush from a farm supplier's is good because the length of the handle means you don't get cold and wet during the winter. And then you might also need a tool to go and get stones that are stuck in a tread out afterwards. You'll need a water container that's big enough to contain as much water as you need for as many site visits as you might make. I visit a lot of sites potentially in any day. If you're only going to be visiting 1 or 2 sites, you might only need a smaller container than this. Then it's just a simple matter of washing your boots. Now, it's not just thinking about potential plant diseases such as Phytophthora that could be transmitted and carried in muds, but there's also other things such as invasive plants and seeds and small and waterborne creatures that could potentially also be carried around from site to site. So these biosecurity measures are just as relevant for those sorts of situations, as well as just imagining that you're on a site that is obviously infected with something. And now we've washed the boots off, so we're sure there isn't any mud sticking onto any of the boots. What we do then, we go and spray off with an approved chemical that was capable of killing off Phytophthora and other things that might still be potentially in the water that are on the boots. One chemical is currently under the generic name of Propeller. It's an industrial alcohol. It's a potential irritant and it's flammable. Hence the fact to keep it in a flame-proof container. This is one from a chandler's shop, and they're easily available. And the other chemical that we use is under the name of Clean Kill, which is a water-based one. This is a chemical that the Commission recommends first because of its the fact it's not flammable and doesn't have any potential irritant capabilities. But with appropriate protective equipment, there's no problem with using this. It evaporates faster, and if you're using it for sterilising tools as well, it won't cause a rusting on that equipment. So with the appropriate personal protective equipment, there's no problem at all in using an alcohol-based spray. And we'd let that boot evaporate now, and then it's clean and ready for the next use. When using this chemical, unless you're particularly allergic to any ingredients, there are no issues. So this takes longer to evaporate, but we can put it in a bucket and it will still be dry and ready for use at the next site that we go and use it on. With the washings that are left over from cleaning boots, you don't want to go and take stuff away from the site, and we don't want to go and potentially let it go and spread unnecessarily elsewhere. So we're not going to pour this directly down a drain or in a drainage ditch, but ideally if we could find somewhere that it could go and evaporate naturally, then that's a good place to put it. If you've been wearing coats and weatherproof trousers, always make sure you go and give your clothes a good brush off. Make sure your pockets haven't become full of any plant material, so you're not taking anything inadvertently from this site to another. Always remember your hood, just in case any leaf material has got into that. If you get particularly mucky or muddy, and you might not have the facilities to go and clean this up on site, then make sure you have a bag that's big enough to go and contain the equipment that you need to go and clean your trousers or your coat, and then you can put them away and wash them in the washing machine and let them dry off, and again they'll be ready for your next site visit. So in summary, it's a matter of remembering to go and arrive on site with clean equipment, and then when you return from your visit to go and clean off appropriately afterwards. This information is available on the Forestry Commission Biosecurity fold-out leaflet, and it's available on the Forestry Commission website and to order. But the suggestion on the back is really very sensible. Take pride in your appearance. If you're always arriving on a site and you're clean, then you're doing a lot of the biosecurity work for itself. Keep your footwear clean and clean vehicles regularly, and make sure that if you've got to go and get specialist equipment or vehicles off a main track, think first of all whether or not you need to go and do that. Do you need to go and get a vehicle muddy when it might be easier and quicker to go and leave the car, leave the van, walk into the site, and then you've only got to deal with cleaning your footwear rather than the longer work of cleaning the arches of a vehicle?